All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Maybe we'll have some more people join within the first couple of minutes, but thank you so much for coming to our November webinar from Aspen's Alumni and Career Services Department. My name is Allie, and I'm your Alumni and Career Services Specialist. Along with a monthly webinar, our department offers resources for current students and alumni for career exploration and development, job searching, resume writing, and more. You can see upcoming events and look through all the resources on our website shown at the bottom of this slide. Next month, we're going to have Dr. Nina Beeman back to speak about how to communicate assertively and professionally. This is mainly in the context of being a current student and communicating with school faculty and staff, but it's relevant in a career context also, since strong communication skills are important in the workplace as well. The registration link for next month's webinar is already up on the Career Services website, so feel free to register if that topic sounds interesting to you. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of self-care as we get into the winter holidays. This webinar is being recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube page. Here's a quick overview for today's presentation. We'll start by going through some common reasons why the holiday season can be difficult and defining self-care. I think these are both pretty familiar concepts for most people, but going over them will lay a good foundation for the rest of the webinar. Then we'll discuss some strategies for managing stress and prioritizing yourself and provide some examples of what self-care can look like. The presentation portion takes about 15 minutes, and at that point we'll stop recording. And if anyone here is interested, we can open the discussion up for people to share any methods they might have to ease holiday stress, ask questions, or even just say hello. Please feel free to add any thoughts or questions to the chat throughout. One of the goals of this webinar series is to provide an opportunity for Aspen students to connect and build community, which we recognize can be a real challenge when you're going to an online school. All right, so I do think it's fairly commonly felt that while the winter holidays can be fun and exciting, there are many reasons why people might experience amplified stress and sadness during the busy time of year. These reasons might include a lack of sleep and downtime, unrealistic expectations from family and children, financial stress, isolation and grief, and anxiety about the new year ahead. These are some of the potential stressors that get piled on top of a person's normal load. The purpose of pointing this out isn't to focus on the negatives. Of course, the holidays are special, and there are also so many reasons to be grateful and things to enjoy. But these stressors are very common, and it's important to remind anyone who deals with them that they're not alone, and it is totally understandable to feel overwhelmed. Making an effort to take care of yourself is important year-round, obviously, but since time commitments and expectations and emotions are all sort of heightened during the holidays, it can be more difficult than usual to protect your own well-being. Self-care is such a trendy buzzword. We've all heard it loads of times. You could definitely argue that it's been overused in the media or by companies trying to sell you skincare products, scented candles, weighted blankets. And that might be where our mind goes first when we hear the term self-care. But according to the National Institute of Mental Health, self-care means taking the time to do things that help you live well and improve both your physical health and mental health. This can help you manage stress, lower your risk of illness, and increase your energy. Even small acts of self-care in your daily life can have a big impact. So self-care is all about doing things that help you feel healthy and balanced, especially when life gets stressful. It absolutely can mean bubble baths, manicures, and naps, but it's much more than that too. It's treating yourself with the same kindness and care that you'd show a good friend, and it's essential for both your mental and physical health. By dedicating time for self-care, we can show up for others and for ourselves with more energy and a brighter outlook. Whether it's tackling a holiday to-do list or sharing special moments with loved ones, everything feels a little easier when we're feeling our best. And a beautiful thing about self-care is that it doesn't look the same for everyone. The important thing is tuning into what you need and taking steps to nurture yourself. I have a fun note here on some of the science behind self-care, since our minds and bodies are highly affected by hormones. Cortisol is a stress hormone that can flood the body under challenging circumstances, and we all know what it feels like to be in a fight, flight, or freeze state. One way to counter stress hormones like cortisol is to engage in activities that flood the brain and body with hormonal counterbalances. And a couple of those are oxytocin and dopamine. Oxytocin is often called the love hormone, and its main function is to facilitate childbirth, but it does a lot of other stuff. And research also suggests that oxytocin can have a positive impact on social behaviors related to relaxation and trust. One promising way to boost oxytocin naturally is with exercise, and physical touch also seems to boost oxytocin release, even something as simple as a hug. Dopamine is another feel-good chemical that is released when we expect a reward of some kind. Even the anticipation of pleasures, like a favorite meal, can cause its release. Among other things, dopamine plays a role in our body's sleep and pain processing functions. It's made from a protein called tyrosine, and you might be able to boost dopamine levels by eating foods that are high in tyrosine, such as nuts and seeds, dairy, avocados, and bananas. That's all to say that there is research backing up the idea of self-care. So here are a few ways to stay present and avoid being overwhelmed when things get stressful during the holidays or anytime. Deep breathing is a effective physical method to calm down, and it works by kicking your body out of the fight, flight, freeze state. A couple of popular techniques include the box breath technique. This is named for the four-sided approach, in which each side of a square is the same amount of time, and as you breathe, you can visualize moving around the sides of a box with your breath. These steps are to exhale all the air from your lungs while counting to 4, hold for a count of 4, keeping your lungs completely empty, then inhale a deep breath for a count of 4, and then hold and keep your lungs full for a count of 4. And then repeat the cycle. There's also the 4-7-8 relaxing breath technique, in which you take a deep breath through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 7, then exhale slowly through your mouth for 8 seconds, and repeat. If you search the names of these techniques on YouTube, you can find videos that do the timing for you, and they often include really nice calming visuals. And then meditation is a similar idea. You don't have to devote a lot of time to it to feel the benefits. Sitting down and paying attention to your breathing for just a few minutes can bring you into the present moment. If you're a beginner, the very basic steps are to sit or lie down in a comfortable position and close your eyes. You don't need to count or control your breath for meditation. Just let it flow naturally. Focus your attention on your inhalation and exhalation. A common misconception of meditation is that you have to clear your mind completely, but it's all right if your mind wanders. Just bring it back to your breath as soon as you notice. Another way to ground yourself is to shift your attention to just what you're doing in the moment instead of thinking ahead to other tasks you have to do. Sort of like meditation, but instead of focusing on your breath, you're focusing on folding laundry and not worrying about anything else. Grieving the loss of a loved one can be especially hard during the holidays. It might feel like people around you have moved on while you're still carrying the weight of the loss. If this is the first holiday without them, those feelings can hit really hard. You might feel a mix of emotions, like sadness over their absence, guilt for not feeling in the holiday spirit, or uncertainty about whether to hold on to old traditions or let them go. There's no right or wrong way to grieve or celebrate. Whatever you're feeling, sorrow, joy, both, something in between, it's valid and your grief matters. And lastly, this webinar centers around how to cope during the holidays because it can be a difficult time. But it's also good to recognize the positives as much as possible. Gratitude helps people feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, improve their health, deal with challenges, and build strong relationships. So, even if you agree that taking time for yourself is important, it can still be really hard to prioritize it, especially with the increased demands of the holiday season. So, here are some tips. Start with identifying your needs. Take a moment to recognize what you truly need during the holidays. Think about what tends to stress you out the most and how you can prepare in advance. For example, if certain family conversations are challenging, you can practice responses ahead of time. If holiday shopping is just really rough, consider shopping online. And don't hesitate to ask a friend to be your check in buddy during a trip or a social gathering. Being proactive can make a big difference. And next is create a self care plan for yourself. Just as you plan obligations like work, study time, and holiday events, make sure to schedule time for your self care. Block out moments for activities that help you relax or bring you joy, whether that's reading, exercising, watching a favorite movie. Have a plan ready for when difficult things do come up. You could call a friend, go for a walk, listen to music. When stress or sadness hits, having a go to plan in place can make those moments easier to navigate. And another important tip is to communicate your needs to others and set healthy boundaries. Decide ahead of time what feels manageable for you, how many events you'll attend, or how much time you'll spend on holiday preparations. Know your limits and don't hesitate to say no to invitations if it's too much. Remember that it's okay to delegate tasks and ask for help. Sharing responsibilities with family or friends can lighten the load. You can also set a boundary for yourself by using a budget to mitigate financial stress. Plan your spending, use an app or a spreadsheet to track your budget, and remember that it's the thought behind a gift that counts, not how much you spend, which is a useful sentiment unless we're talking about young kids, and then we're in trouble. I use a budget template that I found on Google Sheets. There are a lot of really well-made spreadsheets and apps out there. You can also do a rotating gift exchange like Secret Santa or White Elephant with social groups to cut down on spending for everyone. As we've mentioned, self-care varies by individual and it can mean something different for everyone. So here we have a non-exhaustive list of examples. Physical activity is a big one. That's a great stress reliever. If you already have an exercise routine, try to keep it up through the holidays. If you don't already have a routine, even a short walk each day or when you have time can be really good for your mental health. Taking walks with family or friends who are in town for the season is a great way to get fresh air and connect at the same time. And getting some sunlight can be a huge mood booster too. If the weather is bad, you can try gentle types of movement indoors, like stretching or yoga. There are unlimited instructional videos on YouTube. And make sure to stay hydrated. That can improve your overall physical well-being and help manage stress levels and prevent headaches. If you're not great at drinking water, make a point of carrying a water bottle with you, or you can set reminders on your phone. There are phone games where you can water a little virtual plant each time you drink a glass of water. Some people might find that useful. And make sure you're getting enough rest. Go to bed at the same time each night as much as possible. Creating a bedtime routine signals to your body that it's time to wind down. I struggle with this a lot. Something I've found works really well for me is putting on a podcast that's meant to help you sleep. Since it's become a part of my nightly routine, I usually pass out before the narrator gets through the introduction. And with all the celebrating, try to be mindful of alcohol consumption. If you choose to partake, just keep in mind that alcohol can affect your mood and sleep. So you might practice moderation if regulating your mood and sleep schedule is a self-care goal of yours. And then a couple other types here. Emotional self-care might include journaling, going to therapy, practicing the mindfulness techniques we talked about earlier, watching something or spending time with someone who makes you laugh, and reading. These are all great ways to process and release emotions. I love reading as an escape. I read a lot of wholesome, heartwarming fantasy books. So please let me know if you want some book recommendations along those lines. Social self-care is all about connection with others while staying aware of your social battery. This might mean calling someone to chat, volunteering your time, going out. If you're the type who needs a quick break during a social event, do it. And it's okay to decline an invite if that's what you need to recharge. And then another really great form of self-care is reserving time for your hobby. If you're into a craft of some kind, this can double as a money saver if you create handmade gifts. And it's definitely not considered self-care by everyone, but for some, organizing and resetting your space can be very refreshing and help calm your mind. Here are some sources that I used for the information in this presentation. And that wraps up the presentation portion. Thank you very much for listening. I'm going to end the recording now, but please feel free to stick around if you have questions or would like to chat.